until 10 a.m. daily. Are you ready for your next escape? Experience the excitement at Four Winds Casinos in New Buffalo, Hartford, and Dowagiac, Michigan, and South Bend.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with my internet, but we're back up. It's 4:30 p.m., February 10th, 2026. We're now at, I believe we're at Randolph now, right?
The winning never stops. Why settle for less when you can have it all at Four
Or is
Winds
it Lake?
Casinos? Your entertainment escape.
Chicago's news, traffic, and weather station, News Radio 105.9 and WBBMNewsRadio.com.
4:30. Good afternoon. I'm Lisa Fielding here at the top stories on News Radio WBBM. The Chicago Board of Elections shows up its new downtown voting supersite ahead of the start of early voting. Mayor Johnson defending his recent executive order that calls on the Chicago Police Department to document ICE misconduct in the city.
This is Andy Dane.
We're at a crossroads.
A feud over festival funding continues in Geneva.
Plus, federal law enforcement releases surveillance footage of a masked man outside of Nancy Guthrie's home before she returned. She disappeared 10 days ago in business.
Wall Street ends the day mixed, but mostly lower after weak retail spending in December. The Dow up 52 points, but notching a fresh record high. The Nasdaq down 136. The S&P lost 23. I'm Tom Busby, Bloomberg.
Partly sunny, 43 degrees at 4:31. Primaries a little more than a month away, but early voting in Chicago opens on Thursday, and the Chicago Board of Elections is encouraging voters to take advantage of its brand new downtown supersite. WBBM's Carolina Carabay got a preview.
We still got the new car smell around here. It's an absolute new facility.
Max Bever with the Chicago Board of Elections shows off the new downtown Chicago voting supersite at State and Adams. He says this new location is slightly larger than the previous one at Clark and Lake.
The real reason that the location has moved is we did not have the lease anymore. The old location over at Clark and Lake is a Secretary of State facility. However, we were interested in having a larger area for the public, as well as a new site that was built just for voting.
Bever says it holds 80 voting machines. And while the space is brand new, everything else is business as normal, with the same touchscreen machines and ballot scanners. And while Election Day is more than a month away, Bever encourages voters to vote early.
People have concerns or they're worried about having enough time on Election Day. We have this location that's open. Get a head start, make a plan to vote, research your choices ahead of time, and get that done sooner rather than later.
This supersite location opens at 9 a.m. Thursday. Carolina Garibay, News Radio 105.9 WBBM.
Chicago's Mayor Brenda Johnson talking about concerns from Cook County's top prosecutor. It's over his latest executive order that targets immigration operations here in the city.
The mayor says he's glad the state's attorney Eileen O'Neill Burke has stated she's committed to prosecuting ICE agents who break laws while conducting immigration enforcement actions.
There are district attorneys all over the country who are organizing around this very issue.
But O'Neill Burke told her staff last week that part of the mayor's executive order on that issue is inappropriate and could jeopardize cases. She's referring to language which says commanders will preserve evidence and refer cases for prosecution at the direction of the mayor's office. The state's attorney's office suggests that could signal a political component. The mayor says the direction is to officers and not to prosecutors.
There is no ambiguity around how the police department can engage when they're on site.
He says his office is spelling out rules now, and his team has never stopped talking to the state's attorney's office. We're at City Hall. Jeff Buckles, News Radio 105.9 WBBM.
Back and forth between leaders in Geneva over festival funding continues.
There are specific concerns regarding Geneva's annual Swedish Days Festival. City Council meeting last month, Geneva Chamber of Commerce Treasurer Susan Huang warned without adequate funding, the fest is at risk of being canceled this year.
We thank the Geneva Chamber or the Geneva City for your festival sponsor.
You see anybody walking here? There you go. You see anybody walking here? It's 4:34. You see anybody walking? I don't see nobody walking there. Anybody see anybody walking there? 2-3 people? It's 4:35 p.m.
Administrator Alex
Height of rush hour.
With a letter to the Chamber of Commerce, which he references Huang's comments and writes, quote, what exactly is meant by this statement? He also points out the Chamber has yet to clarify an exact amount of necessary funding. The outlet says there has been no response to that letter. Andy Dane, News Radio 105.9 WBBM.
A Wheaton man landed a private plane in West Africa to refuel. Now, His family is asking for help after he's been in prison there for more than 40 days.
Brad Schlenker, a pilot, was flying a family to Dubai on their plane. His brother John told CBS News Chicago as he entered Guinea airspace, he was told he needed a special permit.
In his eyes, he didn't do anything wrong. He was cleared to land and has that actually recorded on tape.
He was met by men with machine guns. Schlenker says he's being treated well. He's able to call home from prison.
I'm still being held without any justification. So it's just absolute madness.
His family has been working with government officials trying to get him out. Mike Krauser, News Radio 105.9 WBBM.
4:34 now, the latest on Nancy Guthrie. The FBI releasing the first surveillance images of a masked person outside her home.
Authorities investigating the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie releasing the first surveillance images Tuesday showing a person on her porch wearing a full head mask, jacket, backpack, and gloves the night she went missing. Authorities searching for the mother of Today Show host Savannah Guthrie have not identified any suspects or persons of interest. FBI Director Kash Patel posting the images on X, saying the video was recovered from residual data located in back-end systems. He says the images show an armed individual appearing to have tampered with the camera at Nancy Guthrie's front door the morning of her disappearance. On Monday, Savannah Guthrie took to Instagram to plead for the public's help.
We are at an hour of desperation, and we need your help.
The 84-year-old was last seen January 31st when a family member dropped her at home. I'm Julie Walker.
To view those photos, check out WBBM's website or our Instagram. Coming up in a minute, low gas prices, traffic, and weather together. It's
437. We're going southbound down the south end of Michigan Avenue by the south here. As you see, there's no people down here. This is a main hub. Orange line, Roosevelt, red line. I think the green line's down here. They just had a big drug bust down here. They sell a lot of drugs out here. You can see there's some people walking around doing their thing, trying to sell, doing their thing, but it is what it is. There you go. It's empty. So North Michigan Avenue, South Michigan Avenue. Now I smell weed out here. I can smell the weed in my car. I have the windows open because it's nice out, and the first thing I smell is weed. Why the hell do I want to smell weed in my car, right? And that's what you got, right? You kind of get it? So that's what we have in our city, right? So then you wonder why things are the way they are, because we have people that break the law, right? Right? It's empty down there, right? This is a little more cars and a little more traffic. But at this time in the day, you would never be able to travel through this area, right? This is always packed. Look at above right there, right? Look at the train station. There's no one on the train station. There's what, 20, 30 people on that train station? It's not packed. Again, it's 4:38. It's the height of rush hour in the third largest city in the United States of America, and there's no one out here, right? That's what I'm trying to show, right? These are time studies, right? I show you where there's no people walking. Look, there's no one walking. There's no one walking here. You want to see that there? You can make up whatever you want. There's nobody walking here. It's an abandoned area, right? This is not a third largest city here. This is an abandoned. It's Tuesday. It's 46 degrees. You want to see? It's 46 degrees. That's the time. There's no one here. Again, this is a main train hub. You can see up there on the inside the train. Is there anybody in those trains? No, there isn't. Right? You got homeless guys there, right? You got drug addicts. You got all kinds of stuff. There you go. You don't see anybody. You got coffee shops that are closed, right? There's donut shops that are closed. There's a police station here, right? You have the main South Loop hub of the Cook County Sheriff's Offices, right? Because this is a drug dealing hub here. So that's what you got here, right? You have an empty, abandoned downtown. Look at that. There's no one here. See that there? There's no one walking. There's no foot traffic. There's zero foot traffic. Again, it's 446. South Loop. State and Roosevelt. Nobody here. This is a main transportation hub. There's people who live here. There's people who work here. There's the museum district. There's the tourist district. There's the entertainment district. Everything is here in this area. There's no one here. Zero people here. Remember, it's Valentine's week. Yeah. We'll see. Maybe the traffic will pick up, but is that what we become? We become some destination area, right? Where we're a stop, and we're not something that creates money. We're some place that just collects money. And if that's true, then we've dropped to where we should be, right? That's what I gotta say. Again, South Loop abandoned. There's nobody down there.
Heading into Thursday with a high of 39. 43 degrees at O'Hare right now, 45 in Midway, 43 in Elgin, 40 at the lakefront, and we're heading down to 27 tonight. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Brian Thompson.
It is 4:40. More charges dropped after those protests outside the ICE detention
South
center.
Michigan Avenue.
The state's attorney's
Same deal. Nobody out here. And then you go over by Roosevelt, red line, orange line. There ain't nobody out there. It's a shell of what it used to be.
Left the designated protest area. Many of them are religious leaders, including Reverend Michael Wolf of Lake Street Church in Evanston.
10th,
He tells us sometimes the charges were always egregious and came after some pretty intense violence against his group that came to pray with detainees. The state's attorney's office told the paper it had sufficient evidence to prosecute, but is declining to proceed given the totality of the circumstances. Nancy Hardy, News Radio 105.9. The Trump administration's top immigration enforcers testified before Congress for the first time since 2 Americans died at the hands of ICE agents in Minneapolis. The House Homeland Security Committee questioned the acting head of ICE, Todd Lyons, for more than an hour on his agent's use of force, his training tactics in the field, and the deadly shootings of Renee Good and Alex Preddy last month. The Commissioner of Customs and Border Protection, Rodney Scott, and the Director of U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, Joseph Iglo, also testified today. The president is once again wrapping up threats against Canada.
In an unexpected announcement, President Trump threatened to block the opening of the Gordie Howe International Bridge between Detroit and Canada. In a post on Truth Social Monday, the president said in part, quote, "I will not allow this bridge to open until the United States is fully compensated for everything we've given them, and also, importantly, Canada treats the United States with the fairness and respect that we deserve."
The bridge, which is jointly owned by Canada and the state of Michigan, has been under construction since 2018 and was expected to open sometime this year. 2 people behind bars in Indiana after state troopers seized 16 kilos of coke from their car.
Indiana State Police say they initially stopped Kip Therese James of Cincinnati while he was headed southbound on I-65 Monday morning around 10, after they believe he was headed to the airport to pick up illegal contraband. Hours later, ISP say they stopped James again around 6 in the evening, this time in the same vehicle headed southbound on I-65 as well. During the stop, ISP requested a narcotics canine and found more than 36 pounds of cocaine in suitcases in the vehicle. James and his passenger, Kyasia Walker of Cincinnati, were arrested and taken to Jasper County Jail, where they are awaiting a court date. Glenn Marshall, News Radio 105.9, WBBM.
My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids...
Man, that's a lot of cocaine there they had in their car. That's a lot of cocaine, that's for sure. What, 36 pounds? What did they find? Man, that's crazy.
$300 a year. Whether you need a $100,000 policy or a $10 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance. In a hurry? Don't worry. With SelectQuote, you can get up to $2 million in instant, affordable, same-day coverage with no medical exam. Call SelectQuote at 1-800-637-9116. That's 1-800-637-9116. Or go to SelectQuote.com. That's 1-800-637-9116. Full details on example policies at SelectQuote.com/commercials.
This is the story of the one. As an HVAC technician, he and his digital multimeter are in high demand. So when a noisy office HVAC turns out to be a failing blower motor, he doesn't break a sweat. With Grainger's easy-to-use website and product information, he selects the product he needs to keep everything humming right along. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
It all comes down to this, folks. Yep, the entire season is on the line. But my throat has officially thrown in the towel. Sounds like you need fixed
so, drops. 4:45, we're going to give somebody a call here. We're going to give somebody a call and they stop up on my sunset. We'll do a sunset and an interview today, right? Yeah, there we go. Then we're going to catch that. We're up here. We're going to do an interview today with somebody.
That's because what you sleep on actually matters.
Most mattresses rely on synthetic foams and chemical materials.
I'll let him introduce himself.
Break down over time
Right.
or off.
I'll give you a call in a second. I'm just trying to park right now.
Natural materials, organic latex, organic wool, and organic cotton, designed to be naturally cooling, incredibly supportive, and long-lasting.
We got a surprise for you guys, so that's all I got to say. We always on the front end of stuff. We always like to talk to people. We always like to get ideas, and I hope you guys enjoy what we're going to do today. There's a guy homeless over there, right? As you see the homeless guy walking around there. So we're gonna go up here. We're gonna do a sunset and an interview. We're gonna give somebody a little space so they can talk about what they're thinking, what they want to do, and as we always do. It don't matter our position, our vocation, or who we are. It's about how we share our ideas, how we go forward, and how we work together to find solutions to the things we have. That's what I want to do. I don't want to blame people. You hear the first thing that the mayor said? He blames people for his budget. He has a 97% of his budget is his. It's his budget. That's his budget. It's not nobody else's budget. And now he blames others. That's the only thing that man knows. That's why he was fired as that teacher. I know why he was fired from the middle school. I know why. Because he was making excuses. That's why the principal, when you work in a school system, the first person you make an excuse to your principal, you know what they do? They fire you. Because that's your job, to take care of people. Take care of those kids, right? I'm going to get up here. I want to park, and then we're going to go and do what we need to do, right? Let me get up here real quick. It's a beautiful, open those windows up. Open the window, get some fresh air in your house.
It's going to be a real challenge, and we all had to lean into it, the coaches, the players, and, we can't just expect that. We're going to have to make things happen a lot quicker, than...
Yeah, we got the sunset today, everybody, and we got a great interview coming up. We might go past the 5 o'clock hour. I don't know. We'll see. It's up to the person I'm calling. I'm going to let them talk about who they are. That's what I want to do, right? Let them talk who they are, what they're about, what they're thinking. Okay? Let's see where's going to be the sunset tonight. It's going to go.
Almost pulled off a huge win over the weekend at Michigan State.
Let's see. Is this where we want to be? How about we're going to be right there? How about that? Is that good, guys? So we're going to do a sunset interview. Let me give somebody a call right now. There we go, everybody. I know you guys love that. Let me give somebody a call right now. And they can introduce themselves and talk about who they are, right?
While Marquette visits Villanova, Western
Let's see if this
Illinois
works here, right?
Eastern Illinois.
Let me talk about you. Why don't you talk about who you are, where you are? I give you however long you want. You're live here. We got a few people watching, so go with it. It's your show right now, okay?
Okay. Well, hey, good evening, everybody. Constitution, Article 5, Section 3, sets out the requirements.
Why don't you reintroduce yourself a little? There was a little break in the video. That reintroduce yourself, because I think that got cut off a little bit. Start over again there, bro. Take 2.
Okay. My name is Andy Williams, Jr. I'm currently a candidate for the Republican primary for Illinois Attorney General. I am running for Attorney General for one purpose: to uphold and enforce the Constitution and the laws of the state of Illinois fairly, consistently, and without favoritism. And more importantly, to restore the power back to the people where it belongs. I am the first.
Go ahead. Yeah, that's what I want to talk about. You're the first guy doing a certain thing. That's really important for people to understand.
So I am the first non-attorney running for Attorney General in the state of Illinois. I think across the United States, other than if we talk about one of the Kennedys back in the days, the Constitution of Illinois, Article 5, Section 3 lays out the job description and the requirement for the Office of the Attorney General. The attorney is not a requirement for that. And I believe that's very important because us regular people, the laymen and the laywomen, we want to be able to relate to somebody that understands where our rights come from, and they don't come from the government. When we go to the Illinois Constitution, the preamble, it talks about we the people created this Constitution. And that is because the people have always had the power. And we elect officials and representatives not to be our spokesperson, but to protect our interests, to protect our property, and to secure these unalienable rights that are written in the Constitution. Unfortunately, we have too many elected officials, attorneys, bureaucrat systems that have been infringing upon our rights for so long, they think that's right what they're doing. So when we the people say, why are we the first state to abolish slavery? Because Illinois, not abolish slavery, but Illinois was the first state to ratify the 13th Amendment, which abolished slavery. But when we look at the property taxes in Illinois, we are the last, the highest state next to New Jersey in property taxes, which is a form of slavery, or I call it involuntary servitude. And it's unconstitutional. And so many times we have individuals running for office promising what they're going to do. I've been here 53 years. I've yet to see these promises fulfilled about lowering taxes, reducing crime. It seems like every election season is the same conversation over and over again, but yet and still us Illinoisans are suffering.
So why don't I do this? Some people are asking, they just tuned in. They want to know your name, what office you're running for, and I think the more important thing is, I think what you're hitting on really is important to us. Explain why your office is one of the most important offices in our state. Explain that. I don't think people get, because they hear Attorney General, they don't understand what it is. They think, oh, it's a lawyer, maybe they do cocaine busts, and if you ICE agents and Trumps and whatever, transgenders. But explain those two things, your name, the office, and why it's important. I think people don't understand the importance of what you're running for, and you hit it on with the taxes. So sorry to interrupt you, but so your name, the office, and why it's really important, especially for us in Illinois.
My name is Andy Williams Jr. I'm running for the office of Attorney General, and that office is so important because the office of the Attorney General is to be the chief legal officer of the state. That's what the Attorney General's office is supposed to be about, which is to protect the rights of the people. And a lot of people are not aware, but our rights are natural guarantees, fundamental guarantees that are protected by the Bill of Rights, which limits the government from infringing upon our rights. So when the Attorney General shows up and they say, you know what, January 1st, 2026 is 200 pieces of legislation that just was passed, the Attorney General looks that over and says, no, those pieces of legislation are unconstitutional, and then they're repealed, or the legislators should never even pass something before the Attorney General looks at it to make sure it passes the constitutional test, which I very rarely ever see happening.
Yeah, you just hit on the main thing there. Who do you protect? You don't protect the politicians. You don't protect the ideology. You don't protect the businesses. You don't even protect Republicans or Democrats. You protect who? The individual. So what you just hit on, your office that you're running for, and I hope you win, is supposed to protect the regular person on the street from laws that infringe upon our rights. Did I get that one right there?
100%.
There you go.
And I talk about that is that I'm not running as a legislator. No, an activist or a partisan enforcer. I'm running to uphold the law as it is written, guided by the constitutional principles and established precedent. That's what I'm running for. And for those that don't know, you won't see my name on the ballot right now, today. And that's because there's 2 unconstitutional statutes that set these are the parameters for you to get on the ballot. The people never authorized that. If voting is one of the most important functions in a society, wouldn't that power be left up to the people to amend the Constitution to state what it would require to get on the ballot instead of us electing legislators and then they come up with the rules?
Agreed.
So I didn't meet the ballot requirement.
Yeah,
but
agreed.
I sued the Illinois State Board of Elections. I sued Kwame Raoul. And I sued the individual who is the chair for the other guy that's running for the Republican Party, objected to my petitions. Not a Democrat, not an independent, but somebody in our own party objected to the part that I didn't have enough signatures. So and you got to ask yourself, aren't we the party?
So it's a rigged system. I hate to use some of Trump's terms. I'm a Democrat, but I voted for Trump. But it's exactly what Trump always says. It's a rigged system. So think about what we're talking about here, everybody. So you would figure this is a Republican running against Kwame Raoul, a Democratic insider, establishment, machine politics. You would say, oh, he would be challenged by who? The Democrats. No, who are you being challenged by? By the Republicans that are supposed to be for open governance. Is it right? It's kind of ridiculous, isn't it?
Right, and that's because there's no accountability for those who are elected officials that violate their oaths. When have we seen across the state of Illinois individuals get charged or lose their office, not by the voting, but by the Attorney General for violating their oath? The very first act Congress ever passed in 1789 was the Oath Act. So when these individuals get into office and they start doing what they want to do, they're not only violating their oath, but they're infringing upon the rights of the people, which means that they should be brought up on treason for warring against the Constitution.
Talk about the oath. Talk about that Oath Act. Explain that, because you're really hitting on a lot of things, I think, that goes to the core of the corruption in our society. And I like it because you're talking about it has nothing to do with Democrats, has nothing to do with Republicans. It has to do with protecting our Constitution. Talk about the Oath Act. What does that mean, and how are we being, I don't even want to say ripped off. We're being lied to by these politicians everywhere. What's the Oath Act, and then how would you enforce it?
So the Oath Act is where when somebody gets elected, in order for them to fully take office, they have to swear or affirm to uphold the Constitution. That's the Oath Act. That's it. So I do here solemnly swear or to affirm the Constitution of the United States, or in this particular, and the state of Illinois. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
When you get elected to do that, and you're saying, I'm going to uphold the Constitution is what puts a limit on the government.
Mm-hmm.
The Constitution is what lays out how government is supposed to work. It lays out what the people want. For example, the 18th Amendment dealt with prohibition, prohibition, sale, and manufacture alcohol. There had to be a constitutional amendment for that to happen. The legislators couldn't do that. The people did, because the people had the power. The same power with the 21st Amendment, when the people said, we're going to repeal that, because then the people started seeing all this black market, all this bootleg, all this other stuff that was going on. This was not a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
So when these elected officials come in and we see these unlawful taxes, these unlawful fines and fees, this unlawful regulation, the cult that deals with the schools that's saying, well, you can take this religion over that religion, which violates the First Amendment. I want to say it's a guarantee clause that there shouldn't, and don't quote me on that, but there shouldn't be no one form of religion over another one.
Correct. Yep.
Nobody's challenging that.
So
it just keeps going and going.
And so what you're talking about, the Oath Act, and what did we just hear? We just heard Brandon Johnson on the radio, and it goes, like you said, both sides. It has nothing to do with color, race, or religion. And he says, well, I want to enforce this idea. And when you say you take the oath act, you take the oath, it's not about I pledge allegiance to the Democratic Party, or I pledge allegiance to socialism, or I pledge allegiance to the Tea Party. It's I pledge allegiance to the Constitution, is what you're saying. And that's how they're violating this oath act, because they're doing what? Their ideologies. Both sides are, technically, right? Is that where you're going? The crux of it is that our Constitution is supposed to be for everybody once you're elected. And that these guys take this oath to uphold the Constitution, and then they go to one side or the other. Is that where you're going? So how would you prosecute? What's your idea on prosecuting that? Two questions here. Is that true? That's what I'm thinking, is that they go to one side, their ideology. And then second, what's your idea on prosecuting it?
So it depends on which way they violate their oath. So there's certain places where somebody will violate their oath and they don't know that they're doing it because they never learned. So then that's one thing. And it depends on the level, because some of this fraud, which we see, Illinois is probably the #1 state that governors go to jail. But
yes.
In fact, so I'll tell you what I do, and I'll tell you from my experience. So back in 2019, I was involved in a traffic stop that lasted over an hour.
Ooh.
Okay, police undercovers, 4 undercovers. It's in the city of Aurora, which is my hometown. They stopped me and said I didn't use my turn signal 100 feet and didn't come to a complete stop. Well, I knew that was not accurate because they never were behind me. But even if I did do that, it didn't cause an accident. So there's no crime in there. There's nothing that you've done wrong. Zero.
No.
I showed up in court. I asked for discovery. Long story short, it took 5 years, almost 4.5 years to get to trial. I took it to a bench trial. The whole process to get there, they were altering documents, putting wrongful videos on the record. The lady who became the judge, which she's really administrative hearing officer, because legislation is administrative. It's not it's not constitutional. So we're not dealing with laws and facts. We're dealing with administration. She's really just a ministerial officer. And what I mean by that is judges rule on facts and law. When the legislators pass legislation, that's not facts and law. It's under the color of law, has the appearance of law, but is not necessarily law. When we have these judicial officers disguising as judges, all they're doing is administering public policy. They're fooling the people.
Wow. I never heard that. That's dangerous, because we all believe. What's the biggest thing that I'm getting goosebumps when you're saying that? You're scaring me, and I'm a pretty tough guy, because the first thing we believe in our society, I think that we all believe in. We know there's good things and bad things that happen in our society. We believe in truth and justice, that scales, the blind justice, right? We believe that in the end we're going to have justice. If you're a victim, if you're whatever it is. But what you're saying, that's not happening with these judges. Is that what you're saying?
100%, but because they're impersonating judges. They're not real judges. They're judicial officers, and they're impersonating officers. But from this case that I had with the traffic stop, I wind up suing 22 defendants under running a criminal enterprise, RICO. It was a traffic stop scheme where they pull you over. It's a pretextual, they're looking for something, although they didn't search the vehicle I was in at all. But then they charge you $200 per each incident. It's a racket.
And was it because of your race? Was it because of where you were at, a certain neighborhood? Because we know there's institutional racism, and people hide under that. They hide under the institutional racism to do what? To make money. And is that what you're talking about happened to you out in Aurora, or was it straight they're just crooks out there?
So I don't want to speak to the alleged racism, and the reason why I don't, because the only way to get rid of that is to stop talking about it. That's what it is. And so I don't subscribe to that ideology, even though I think there's real harms based on the implicit bias that exists on what we've been taught. What I will say, I was in a certain neighborhood, and the people who pulled me over was the Special Operations Group. So they're known for gangs and all this. This is what it is. And on the City of Aurora website, the Special Operations Group specifically says we target certain neighborhoods. Now, I don't know how many of y'all are historians, but back after the 13th Amendment was passed, they had these things called slave patrols and slave catchers.
Yep.
So they would identify certain neighborhoods, and they would go in there. And that's why I sued the City of Aurora, calling them modern-day slave patrols and slave catchers, because you're admitting you're only patrolling certain neighborhoods. Now, this was not about the color of the skin. I don't use the race card.
Right.
I use the facts.
Okay.
And the facts is there is a parallel to what you're doing today is what happened back in the 1860s, 1870s. The difference is it affects certain communities, which under the Trump administration call them opportunity zones.
Okay.
And what the Trump administration is saying, if you wealthy people invest into these opportunity zones, we're going to give you a tax benefit.
Okay.
But the system sees it as opportunities to generate revenue off of people that are already living under the poverty level, and it puts us in the forced oppression, forced involuntary servitude, because if your fine is $200,
okay,
and you make $20 an hour, you have to work 10 hours to pay that $200. $200 for somebody living under the poverty level, come on now, can change the whole outlook. And if you don't have the lived experience, you cannot relate to that. And that is where Andy is coming in saying, listen, I'm the Attorney General for the people. I can relate from the lowest to the lowest to the highest to the highest. Because what I'm protecting is our birthright freedom. We want to restore the Republican form of government. Not Republican, but the Republic form of government where it was limited and the people's rights were sovereign. We put the people before we put the legislators. That's what we did. That's what Andy is restoring in this office.
And it's more what you're talking about. And that's how we get that. And that's one of the things that's discussed when they killed Martin Luther King, Dr. Martin Luther King, God rest his soul, is he got to that point because people are saying it's black, white, and he got to the point, no, it's economic oppression. And that's really why they killed him, because he was organizing. He started getting to that point. There was the sanitation worker strikes and all of that. He was starting to organize that, and people they missed that, and they missed that he crossed over. It's like, I'll make it simple. It's like, Michael Jackson, the singer, he crossed into another, genre. He could entertain other races, other people, other parts. Same thing with Dr. Martin Luther King. He started figuring out it is about the color, but it's more about who we are. It's where we're at in our life, and it's more economic oppression. Like you said, a $200 ticket takes a person a day and a half to make. Plus he's got to buy his food and still go to work. So how are you going to afford that? You can't. Now, are they ticketing the rich person? Are they giving tickets to the people who are wealthy? No. That you're hitting on a theme, I think, that people don't really get. It is about the color of your skin. It is about your religion. It is about your sex and your gender and all of that. But the main thing is it's about the haves and the have-nots. How come we still have less and they still have more? And that's not about taking like communism from them. It's about an equal opportunity. I think that's what you're talking about. Equal opportunity, and your office would level the playing field. Did I get your kind of platform correct there?
I'm wondering, should you be my spokesperson? Yes, 100%. That's exactly what it is. And see, I'm a guy that has already sued the IRS and won.
Ooh.
This is a non-attorney. Okay? You will not hear me on the campaign trail talking negative about Democrats or Republicans. What I'm saying is a lot of us have been bamboozled and fooled. So you can't sit there and say, well, you're a bad person based on the label of your political party if that's all you ever knew. But if we went back to the Oath Act, it wouldn't matter what party you were affiliated with, because you still have a responsibility to serve the people. And when you infringe upon, when you violate your oath, the people hold you accountable. That's all.
It's exactly what you just said. And I always make this joke because I don't like corruption. I never liked the dailies or none of that. But I go back to that, and people are nostalgic because he understood service. Catching the rats, taking care of the graffiti, getting rid of the guys that are dealing the drugs on the corner, and doing that. Was he corrupt? Yes. But he understood this service. He understood more of the oath, right? Where if you're electing me mayor, I'm supposed to service everybody. Yeah, and there's a lot of discrimination and racism there. But he understood this idea of service. Is what you're talking about. It's service. When I run, I can be a Democrat, Republican, Independent, whatever, communist, anything. But when I'm elected, this is what you're saying. I'm trying to get to where you're talking about the Oath Act. When you get elected and you take that oath, you're supposed to be for everybody, and you're supposed to serve everybody. Is that correct? That's the violation there, right?
100%. This is not party politics. The office of the Attorney General is nonpartisan, but every single office is nonpartisan because you never swear an oath to uphold your political party or affiliation. You swear an oath to uphold the Constitution, and that is what we're lacking. We don't have that. And that's what I want to restore.
So can we call you a constitutionalist then, maybe? Or not? Or you just don't like a label? What do you see yourself as? I know you're saying you're Republican. Are you? What do you think? It's hard because we have these couple of labels. Maybe we need to invent a new party. I don't know what we do. But so you're sounding like you're more of a constitutionalist, right? You're more like that kind of a person, correct?
I say what my dad said. You can call me anything, just don't call me late for dinner.
Alrighty. It was great having you on. It's great.
I am one of the people.
It's great having you on. So why don't you do this? Talk about how people can get involved in your campaign, who you are, your websites, your phone number, how they can get a hold of you, or if they're interested in being part of what you're doing and part of your movement. Talk about that for a minute or so, and then we'll let you go to dinner, okay? So talk about who you are, how people can get a hold of you, your websites or anything like that, okay?
Gotcha. So my name is Andy Williams Jr. If you Google that name, all my social media come up. My campaign website is www.andyforag.us. So that's andyforag.us. You can go in there. My email address is there. Anywhere on my social media, you can message me, follow me. One of my social media accounts is Andy Hood Candidate Williams Jr. And the Hood Candidate, for those who would not know, is I ran for president in 2020 under the Libertarian Party. I was painting this lady's house and putting the floor down. She was a photographer. She wanted to do a photo shoot. She says, "Hey, Andy, go get a hoodie, from, Nike hoodie." I had a suit on. She cut the sleeves off that and then put the hood under that. What that allowed me to do is to tap into a certain culture that most politicians could never tap into. And that became the Andy the Hood Candidate. And what I do under the Hood Candidate brand is I teach the people in the community about their fundamental guarantees, also known as their rights, and how to enforce them when the government has infringed upon them or deprived upon them. Because most of us don't even understand how government is supposed to work. But when you come to these opportunity communities, aka marginalized communities, their rights are always being infringed and deprived, whether it's through child support, whether it's through driving, traffic, whether it's through the prison industrial complex, which I'm talking about the Illinois Department of Corrections, which I feel the Department of Corrections should be actual correctional facility. And if you want a model, Sheriff James Mendrick, who is running for governor, he has turned his jail into a vocational school, which has reduced the recidivism rate. And for every dollar that's invested into that Just Us DuPage program, it saves the taxpayers $19. That is so important when the state of Illinois is so far in debt, and then you have these wrongful convictions that are taxing 101 counties millions and billions of dollars just because we don't hold these elected officials accountable. It's like Operation Greylord 2.0. And if those don't know about Operation Greylord, that's when this undercover public defender, I believe it was in Cook County and started recording all these judges and lawyers taking bribes. It's happening in our state, and none of us are aware of it because we keep pushing this narrative about public safety instead of accountability.
And they keep trying to separate us, whether it's by race, by gender, by age. Now they try to separate us, saying one is left, one is right. Most people are neither. They're just in the middle, good working people doing their thing. And it don't matter whether you're rich or poor, what neighborhood you come from, whether you're single mom, single dad, two moms, Christian, Muslim. That has nothing to do with it. It's about what you talked about. If somebody gets a vocation and they go to prison and learn how to have a job, most likely they're not going to go back to jail because they're going to have a job, they're going to have a family, they're going to have a kid, they're going to have a car, they're going to have a house. They don't want to lose that. But
correct.
But that does not bode well for the people that want to keep you enslaved.
Correct.
And slavery is here. There's a lot of slaveries here, and I think we have a lot more to talk about. So I'm going to keep you on my Rolodex here. I think you should maybe call in once in a while, and I have some topics I want to talk to you about. But I appreciate you coming on. Thank you, and make sure you have some dinner and don't get whoever's cooking you dinner upset because you're a little late talking to some dude on a roof watching the sunset, okay?
I won't. I'm still at work, I believe. But I'd love to be on. Listen, you got to pull a primary ballot, Republican primary ballot. You have to write Andy Williams Jr. as a write-in under Attorney General right now. Like I said, I did file a lawsuit against the Illinois State Board of Election. Listen, they are about to get served tomorrow, the next 2 days. Once they get served, I'm trying to get my name put back on the ballot. Regardless, we still are in this until, as they say, the old lady sings, or the lady sings. I don't want to say nothing else, but we are in this till the end. I'm a fighter. I will not give up, and I care about the rights of the Illinoisans because we are the ones that have the power, and it's time to restore the power back to the people.
I appreciate you for being on, and we're going to have you on a lot more to talk about how things are happening, not only with your campaign, but your other ideas on how we can fix stuff. I appreciate you being on. Thank you, my brother. Go have some good dinner, okay?
All right, bye-bye.
All right, brother. Take it easy. Bye. All right. There we go. I hope you guys enjoyed that interview there. Like I said, we want to do some different things on our show, and he has some good ideas there, as you see, and I'm going to shut my mouth and maybe put some, why don't I do some, why don't I put on some meditation music here, right? For the next few minutes, right? I think it's a beautiful sunset, isn't it? So we'll do a little meditation to about 5:30. How about that? So we can all relax. That was some heavy booty talking there. See, there's a lot of people with good ideas. And they're keeping him off the ballot. And they don't want him. And who's keeping him off the ballot? Who did he say? He's a Republican, and the Republicans are keeping him off the ballot. So let's not fall into those trick little moves there. So let me get some meditation music going on here. That's a little bit too much talking for me. I need to relax. There we go. Let's get some meditation music here, right?
Coming up in the next half hour on News Radio WBBM.
More visitors, more conventions, and a push for more.
Let's listen to some 5:30 news. See what's going on in the world.
News, traffic, and weather station. News Radio 105.9 and WBBMNewsRadio.com.
5:30. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Lisa Fielding. Here are the top stories on News Radio WBBM.
Some janitors who clean up city buildings are clearing out their lockers under budget cuts Mayor Johnson says he was forced to make. I'm political editor Jeff Buckles at City Hall.
Chicago tourism leaders say that despite troubles in and out of the city last year, it was a record year for attracting tourists.
This is Glenn Marshall. 2 traffic stops lead to Indiana State Troopers finding more than 30 pounds of cocaine inside a vehicle.
Plus, pictures and video released today by the FBI show a masked and armed person outside of Nancy Guthrie's home just before her disappearance.
Wall Street ends the day mixed, but mostly lower after weak retail spending in December. The Dow up 52 points, but notching a fresh record high. The Nasdaq down 136. The S&P lost 23. I'm Tom Busby at Bloomberg.
41 degrees, cloudy skies at 5:31. 9 janitors for Chicago buildings have been laid off by contractors. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson says, though, the decision is tied to this year's city budget and suggests more cuts could still be on the way. WBBM political editor Jeff Buckles says more on the mayor's reaction.
We're experiencing a difficult financial moment.
And the mayor says it's a moment forced on the administration, in part, by the budget Alderman passed over his objections, which calls for greater efficiencies in how city buildings are managed.
Even after our assessment, they said you should cut more. And what I said repeatedly, if you cut even more, it's going to continue to cost people their jobs.
He again pointed back to his original budget and its corporate head tax, rejected by aldermen, which would have raised an additional $80 million from the city's largest employers.
If we don't have progressive revenue, we're going to continue to face these type of budgetary challenges.
And he says he'll keep working with stakeholders to get that revenue. We're at City Hall. Jeff Buckles, News Radio 105.9. WBBM.
It was a record year for Chicago tourism. Leaders at the tourism agency Choose Chicago say the city broke records for visitors despite challenges inside and outside the city. Choose Chicago updated the city's tourism numbers during its annual meeting at the Hyatt Regency this morning. Mayor Johnson says everyone around the world deserves to visit Chicago.
Having a thriving city that people can come and visit, it's a point of pride for us. When visitors come to Chicago, they support neighborhood businesses. It spurs job creation and generates billions of revenue dollars to ensure that the critical services that our people rely upon can be delivered.
The city welcomed more than 55 million visitors last year. 2 people are locked up in Indiana after state troopers say they uncovered a major drug haul along I-65.
Indiana State Police say troopers first stopped the vehicle Monday morning around 10 on the southbound lanes of I-65, driven by Kip Therese James of Cincinnati. Troopers believe he may have been headed to an airport to pick up illegal drugs. Authorities say hours later, around 6 p.m., troopers stopped the same vehicle again on I-65. This time, a narcotics canine was called in. Police say a search turned up 16 kilograms, more than 36 pounds of cocaine packed inside suitcases. James and his passenger, Kyasia Walker, also of Cincinnati, were taken into custody and booked into the Jasper County Jail. Glenn Marshall, News Radio 105.9, WBBM.
5:33 now to the latest on the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. The search for the 84-year-old continues into another day, but today the FBI released surveillance images that showed a masked man the night she disappeared. CBS News' Anna Schechter takes a deeper look at the photos.
You can't see his face, but you can see his body build in one of those images where it's a bit of a wider shot. And so people are going to be on the lookout for that. You also see the specific type of backpack. You see a specific type of zipper on the front of the jacket. All those little clues are going to help people be on the lookout or just go back and try to think back. Did they see anything suspicious Saturday night into Sunday into Monday?
View those images on our website, WBBMNewsRadio.com, or on our Instagram page. President Trump standing by his Commerce Secretary amid new revelations. He has appeared in the Epstein files.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick remains in good standing.
Secretary Lutnick remains a very important member of President Trump's team, and the president fully supports the secretary.
Secretary Lutnick admitted to senators during a hearing that he visited sex offender Jeffrey Epstein's island in 2012 along with his family. Previously, he told
a happy happy ending to the story. Authorities say a single-engine plane made an emergency landing on a busy landing in Georgia, striking 3 vehicles and leaving 2 people on board injured. Before the landing, one of the pilots told air traffic controllers to let his wife and parents know that he loved them in a very emotional message. The pilots did survive and they were taken to the hospital. The plane reportedly experienced problems with the engine just before they departed. The government wants to force international travelers to catch up on their child support payments.
No child support, no passport. Sources tell the Associated Press the Trump administration is planning to step up enforcement of a 30-year-old law that allows the federal government to revoke U.S. passports from parents who owe a significant amount of child support. The 1996 law was only invoked by the State Department when someone applied for a renewal or sought consular services, but has taken in nearly $621 million in support payments. Soon, the officials said, the State Department will begin to revoke passports on its own initiative. The State Department says it is reviewing options to enforce long-standing law and that deadbeat parents need to pay their child support arrears. Jennifer King, Washington.
Consider it done with ABC. Our family's been away.
Now that is a great law. You don't want it. I was just saying that's a great law there, forcing people to pay their child support. Alrighty, we'll talk to you guys later.